Something strange happens when two people talk but nobody actually listens. We've all been there, waiting for our turn to speak. The words wash over us while we rehearse our response. But every once in a while, you meet someone different. Someone who makes you feel like the only person alive. And you remember them for years, even decades afterward. You remember how they made you feel, not what they said. What makes these rare people so unforgettable? The answer might change every relationship you have. Most of us were never taught how to listen. We were taught how to speak, how to present, how to argue. But listening, that was always assumed, never explained. Here's the uncomfortable truth about human conversations. Studies show we spend about 70% of waking hours communicating. But we only remember 25% of what we hear. That means most of what people tell us simply disappears. Vanished, like those words were never spoken at all. And here's the part nobody talks about. The problem isn't that we can't hear. The problem is we listen to reply, not to understand. There's a profound difference, and people can feel it. Let me show you what I mean. Picture a man named David sitting across from his wife. She's telling him about a brutal day at work. He nods, but his eyes are locked on his phone. She says something important, and he responds with, "Yeah, sounds rough." She stops talking, and the silence fills the room. He didn't hear a word, and she knows it. This scene plays out millions of times every single day. Now imagine that same conversation with someone who truly listens. The phone is gone, eyes are locked, body is turned. She says the same words, but this time something shifts. He repeats back what he heard, not what he wants to say. Her shoulders drop, her breathing slows, she leans in closer. She feels safe enough to say what she really means. That's the hidden power of active listening. It's not a trick, it's a completely different way of being present. And there's actual science behind why it works so powerfully. When someone feels truly heard, something remarkable happens in their brain. Researchers at the University of Chicago found that feeling understood activates the brain's reward centers, the same regions triggered by eating. Being understood literally feels like nourishment to the human brain. But that's not even the most fascinating part. When we feel misunderstood, the brain registers it as a threat. The amygdala lights up, cortisol floods the system, walls go up. We feel defensive, anxious, and desperately alone. It's the same response we'd have to a physical predator. But when someone shows they're actually listening, that threat response disappears. The nervous system calms down, trust begins to form naturally. This is why active listening builds trust faster than anything else. It signals to the other person that they are safe. And safety is the foundation of every meaningful human connection. So how do great listeners actually do this? There are 3 specific techniques that transform ordinary conversations. The first technique is deceptively simple, but almost nobody uses it. You paraphrase what the other person just said. Not parrot, not repeat word for word, but reflect the meaning. So if someone says they're overwhelmed at work, you say something like, "It sounds like the pressure is unbearable right now." This does something extraordinary to the conversation. It proves you are actually paying attention. It gives them a chance to correct what you heard. And it makes them feel like their words actually landed somewhere. The second technique is about what your body does. Eye contact, gentle nodding, and brief verbal cues like "mm-hmm." These small signals tell the brain, "I'm here, I'm with you." Without them, the other person feels like they're talking to a wall. With them, the conversation flows naturally, without awkward pauses or tension. Research shows these micro-expressions can increase trust by over 40%. But here's where most people get this wrong. If your body says one thing and your mind says another, people can feel the disconnect, even if they can't explain it. The third technique is the most powerful and the most difficult. You gently label the other person's emotions out loud. Not diagnose, not judge, just name what you're sensing. Something like you seem really hurt by what happened. Or it sounds like this made you feel invisible. FBI hostage negotiators use this exact technique to build rapport. It's called labeling, and it works because emotions lose their grip on us the moment they're acknowledged out loud. When you name an emotion, you help someone process it. And that creates a bond that ordinary conversation never could. This is where real intimacy is forged between people. But all three techniques come with a critical warning. These techniques are completely useless without one essential ingredient: genuine curiosity and real care for the other person. If you paraphrase mechanically or nod without actually listening, people will sense the performance and trust will collapse instantly. The human brain is remarkably good at detecting fake attention. We've evolved over thousands of years to read social cues. Someone going through the motions is obvious to everyone watching. This is why active listening isn't really a set of techniques. It's a way of showing up fully present for another person. The techniques just give structure to that presence. And here's the deepest psychological insight of all. Most people don't want advice, they want to be understood. When someone comes to you with a problem, your instinct is to fix it, to offer solutions, to help. But that instinct, however well-meaning, often backfires completely. It makes the other person feel like you missed the point. They didn't come for solutions, they came for connection. Understanding must come before advice every single time. When people feel understood, they often solve their own problems. The listening itself was what they needed all along. You were the solution, not your words. Think about the best conversation you've ever had. Chances are the other person didn't say much, but they made you feel like your thoughts mattered completely. That feeling wasn't an accident, it was a choice. Great listeners don't dominate conversations, they hold space for them. And the people who experience that space never forget it. So here's what you can do starting today. Next time someone talks to you, resist the urge to reply. Instead, get curious about what they're really trying to say. Reflect their words back, show them you're present with your body. Name what you hear beneath the surface of their story. And before you offer any advice, ask yourself one question. Do they want solutions or do they want to feel understood? 9 times out of 10, it's the latter. And when you choose understanding over fixing, everything about the conversation transforms completely. The room gets warmer, the walls come down, trust appears. That's the shift that changes everything. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the rare person who truly listens becomes unforgettable. Not because they said the most, but because they made others feel like the most important person in the room. Great listeners are remembered because they make others feel important. And in the end, that's what every human being wants. Every single one of us, without exception. To be heard, to be understood, to matter. So stop listening to reply and start listening to understand. The difference will change every relationship in your life.